Hello, I'm Paula, and you're listening to Reality Bytes Radio at www.realitybytesradio.com. Hello, welcome to Paula Live. It is December 26, 2014, the day after you got yourself into much debt this year. Um, Anyway, I hope you're all doing really good. Got to see family that you didn't get to see because it looks like my mic is low again, so I'm just imagining that you can hear me. Anyway, I hope you got to see family that you don't get to see all the time because that's kind of what we do. And nothing better for the holidays. We are being hit with some really funny things over here at Reality Bites Radio. Not funny, ha, but just some really weird stuff with our machinery. We're going to go on with it and try to work with it. And right now I'd like to share a song from my grassroots music show I had on. And the artist is Matt Fitzgibbons. He's an amazing artist. And this is one of his songs. And no, it's not. It just went right through. So let's hear Cat Beach and Love Me Out Loud.
Woke up this morning, didn't want to get out of my bed. Thinking about you and how you mess up my head. Who's right or wrong, just don't matter at all. I'm tired of being the one who always takes the fall. Watching the clock unwind. Ain't gonna waste more time trying to get you to love me out loud. Scream my name in a crowd till the world is so damn proud. Come on and show it. Come on and own it, baby. You always say you want the best for me, but all your sweet talk ain't ever gonna make it be. Turn left, turn right, I never know which way. Your actions never speak louder than the words you say. Watching the clock unwind. Ain't gonna waste more time trying to get you to love me out loud. Scream my name in a crowd till the world is so damn proud. Come on and show it. Come on and own it, baby. On the street, am I everything that you ever dreamed of? Do I make your life complete? If I do, you better love me out loud and scream my name in a crowd till the world is so damn proud. Come on and show it. Come on and own it, baby. Till the world is so damn proud. Come on and show it. Come on and
Hello and welcome to Paula Live. That was Cat Beach in Love Me Out Loud. And this one is Matt Fitzgibbon's I Still Believe in Her.
Some are asking what to do. Others say that we are through. I don't think it's really true, but I know we've lost our way. Some believe it's just a flaw, a simple error that no one saw. Others like to blame the law that keeps the truth at bay.
We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it. Abolish it. Abolish it.
Some are simply overcome. Some are busy keeping numb. Some are wondering where to run. But me, I'm gonna stay. You know I still believe in her. Future lies in what we were. You know she's not naive or pure. I'm gonna fight till she's secure. Oh yeah. You know I still believe in her. You know the founders knew our cure. I still believe in her. Oh
In this present crisis, government is not the solution to our problem. Government is the problem.
I must say I have to agree with that. Hello, Orwell. It's great to see you out there. Hi, everybody that come to listen. Thank you so much for coming. I think this is Boxing Day or something over on the other side of the pond, and so it means a lot to know that I'm a part of your Boxing Day. And I'm going to share a little bit of the lame stream with you and maybe get a song on, try to get Neil to come on and talk some news with me. And here's one we got from Yahoo, and it's titled Ebola Death Toll Rises to 7,693. WHO. and it has this picture of these guys in this hazmat suit plus just draped in plastic. Geneva, AFP. The death toll from the Ebola outbreak in West Africa has risen to 7,693 out of 19,695 cases recorded, the World Health Organization said Friday. The previous toll, released December 22nd, stood at 7,518 fatalities out of 19,340 infected in Syria, Leone, Liberia, and Guinea. Worldwide, the disease has killed at least 7,708, including 6 in Malawi, 1 in the United States, and 8 in Nigeria, which was declared Ebola-free in October. Spain and Senegal, which had both been declared free of Ebola, meanwhile counted 1 case each but no deaths. Sierra Leone, which has taken over Liberia as the country with the most infections, counted 9,203 cases and 2,655 deaths on December 24th, the WHO said. 4 days earlier, the toll stood at 8,939 cases and 2,556 deaths. This is Liberia. The the hardest hit country has seen a clear decrease in the transmission over the past month. As of December 20th, the country counted 700, as December 20th, the country counted 7,862 cases and 3,384 deaths, up from 7,830 cases and 3,376 deaths recorded in the previous update, the WHO said. In Guinea, where the outbreak started a year ago, 2,630 Ebola cases and 1,654 deaths were recorded as of December 24th. The previous tally showed the country with 2,571 Ebola cases and 1,586 deaths. Healthcare workers. Ebola, one of the deadliest viruses known to man, is spread only through direct contact with the bodily fluids of an infected person, showing symptoms such as fever or vomiting. People caring for the sick or handling the bodies of people infected with Ebola are especially exposed. As of December 21st, a total of 666 healthcare workers were known to have contracted the virus, and 366 of them had died, according to the WHO. I was talking to a friend of mine who grew up in Nigeria, still has a lot of family there, and visits there, and they were talking with me on one of my previous shows, saying that this region has had Ebola for over 40 years, but it's just now become something to talk about. So put that into your mix of things to say, because um, when you get this much press on something like that, there is a pharmaceutical cure in the works, and just keep watching, and we'll see what happens next.
Out in the woods, west of Pittsburgh is home. Since my granddaddy's days, they'd left us alone. We lived on the river where we made panther's breath till the marshal brought death. We had fought for your freedom from here to the east. Out the Tories till the land was at peace, and we picked off the redcoats with our frontiersmen aim. Then the taxman came. The Federalists said that they paid for the war with a tax on corn whiskey, distilled from us poor, that we needed some master to keep us in awe, so they declared martial law. We farmers decided we'd stick together, so we covered some taxmen with tar and with feathers. General Washington headed the army again with 13,000 men. While the gallows are built, and it seems that my country is feeling some guilt. They say we've been pardoned, now their point has been made, but you should be afraid.
And we're back, and I am joined by the magnificent Neil Foster. Thank you for coming on.
You're welcome. I wouldn't say magnificent. I'm here anyway. Just on your last story there, nearly 8,000 deaths from Ebola in 1 year, nearly a year to the day this fabrication came out, and yet we have 500,000 flu deaths a year. So the Ebola is equivalent of 1.6% of that, and yet here we have it worldwide panic, hazmat suits, and something that can only be caught by direct bodily contact. And yet the flu kills 500,000 a year, and that's not a problem, just get a flu shot. You know? So it's a joke, basically.
Well, there's going to be a whole new line of shots that are going to protect you by Big Pharma coming soon. Always, they'll start with the flood of this uh, terrifying news about, you know, bird flu, which I have a bird flu story coming up too. So, Ebola, just anything that they have coming up, you'll hear the lead in stories, and they'll let you know in a few other places that we're working on it to keep you safe. So, watch out.
Oh, you wanted me to comment? Sorry,
Oh,
sorry. Yeah, there'll always be a scare story, and I'm sure there's Ebola will rear its head again, and we'll get more of it, or something else. And as you say, bird flu is flowing in again. No doubt from migrating birds or something, penguins or who knows what, or just that turkey you didn't defrost properly. Maybe you'll get Ebola from that. Who knows?
that's true. I had another story, but I'm having trouble finding it because I had all this set up right before time to go on. I had a system crash and it lost all of my stuff, so I'm kind of scrambling around to find it.
Well, maybe we should mention actually what happened last week when we were on with Thomas.
Yes.
you mute your mic.
Oh, that might help.
Getting an echo. Um, yeah, last on Wednesday with Thomas Sheridan, we had a DDoS attack, a denial of service attack on our servers over in Scotland and I believe Malaysia or wherever they are. And the excellent Jock Pete managed to block 18.7 million attempted hits to the site in 4 seconds. They started off at about 6 million and increased it up to 12, and then they went for 18, and they still couldn't get through it. But they did manage to knock off half the listeners, so I guess they were slightly successful. But go on. Thanks to Jock Pete again.
Oh, yeah, he's amazing. Oh, okay, here's the related story. I just found it. A mishap at the Center for Disease Control and Prevention in Atlanta. Oh, and then it just pops right on. I don't know if y'all can hear that or not. Let me start this all over again. CDC lab worker may have been exposed to Ebola. This is close to home, so this is really going to get into a lot of people's minds. A mishap at a Centers for Disease Control and Prevention in Atlanta may have exposed a lab worker to the Ebola virus. May have, guys. The CDC said the incidents happened after an Ebola sample researchers were working on in a high security lab was mistakenly transferred to a lower security lab on the CDC campus. A technician in the second lab who processed the sample may have been exposed and will be monitored for 20 more days for any signs of illness. The CDC said there was no exposure outside of the lab and no risk to the public. The lab has been documented twice, decontaminated twice, and will remain closed while the incident is investigated. And I'm reading a quote here. I am troubled by this incident in our Ebola research laboratory in Atlanta, CDC Director Tom Friedman said in the statement. We are monitoring the health of one of the technicians who could possibly have been exposed and have directed that there may be a full review of every aspect of the incident and that the CDC take all necessary measures may be. Okay. The CDC said several other people who entered the second lab were assessed for possible exposure but are not to believe it to be at risk and do not require monitoring. The report follows a series of other serious safety lapses at federal labs earlier this year. In June, as many as 84 workers in the CDC Bioterror Research Lab in Atlanta were potentially exposed to live anthrax after safe transfer protocols were not followed. More than 50 workers took antibiotics as a precaution. No illnesses were reported. The head of the lab later stepped down. Two other CDC labs were temporarily shuttered in July after officials learned that the highly infectious samples of bird flu virus were not handled properly. And that same month, at a National Institutes of Health lab in Bethesda, Maryland, decades of old vials of smallpox were discovered in a storage refrigerator. Investigators later confirmed that the lethal bacteria was in fact still live. At a congressional hearing on June 16th, lawmakers blasted the CDC director Frieden over lax safety practices. Sooner or later, that luck will run out and someone will get very sick and die. House Oversight and Investigation Subcommittee Chair Representative Tim Murphy said during open arguments. Since then, the CDC says it has been working to improve safety practices, but the latest incidents revive concerns about the way the federal labs handle some of the most dangerous pathogens known. Thousands of laboratory scientists in more than 150 labs throughout CDC have taken extraordinary steps in recent months to improve safety. Friedman said in the press statement Wednesday, no risk to staff is acceptable and our efforts to improve lab safety are essential. The safety of our employees is our highest priority.
Yeah, I mean, this is a high security lab, and they just can't seem to get things right. I'd hate to see what they do in a low security lab, but I suppose the creation of disease contamination and proliferation department, and they do a good job. They do a
I
good job.
wonder whose nephew was handling the smallpox virus when all of that disappeared. That was later found in the refrigerator, or even something worse. You know, your mind goes to some disgruntled employee grabbing the stuff and stashing it for later. They'll pay. I'll make them all pay. You know, it's creepy stuff. You got
Oh,
to have two signatures to pass the checks off down there, but I bet you don't have to have that much to handle a live virus.
well, I mean, these guys are supposed to be highly trained, you would imagine, and obviously they're not. And if they are, there's something wrong with the training. So the people who've done the training should all be sacked and should start again and get rid of rid of the whole place, because all it's doing is seemingly spreading disease all over the place. It ain't preventing anything. It didn't prevent Ebola, did it? It didn't prevent flu. It doesn't prevent anything. That seems down to big pharma to do that. They get a new disease and they say, "Oh, we'll solve that with a vaccine, and you just give us billions of dollars, and it's not a problem. Money will solve it."
That leaves out a lot of people from having their problem solved, doesn't it? Money.
It does. It does. It does. But that's why they give away free shots, I guess, just to make sure you get sick. And then when you do get really sick, then you've no choice but to fork out the money and do without food and stuff like that, just to get yourself well again, enough to go down and get the next free shot when it comes along and get yourself sick all over again.
It's another part of eugenics in my mind because you've noticed, at least here in the States, the lower income people are almost forced to eat non-food products and GMO stuff. The cheapest stuff you would think would be what you could grow locally and, fresh things that were not genetically modified. But it's absolutely the opposite. And I was so happy to get a Whole Foods market, really large Whole Foods market near us. And Neil and I visited it, what, last week? And oh gosh, it's a beautiful place. It's got a restaurant in there, a pizzeria. They'll prepare some of the stuff for you, and it is so high priced that again, the part that I thought about the eugenics with and how I placed it there is, the strongest or the richest, the money, as we say, are going to be able to eat these things. And well, that store's even been caught in a little lie on their on their behalf. You want to take that over, babe?
Yeah, this is on John Rappaport's site, nomorefakenews.com. Whole Foods sued for false non-GMO labelling. The case is Michelle Richard versus Whole Foods, as reported by the Food Navigator on the 5th of December 2014 and other press outlets. Plaintiffs claim Whole Foods advertised and sold Blue Diamond, Almond Breeze, almond milk and vanilla almond milk with non-GMO labels when these products hadn't been verified as such by the Non-GMO Project. The Non-GMO Project is by far the largest North American group that tests and verifies food products as non-GMO and grants the use of its verified seal. Concerning the lawsuit, Whole Foods declined to comment, the Non-GMO Project declined to comment, Blue Diamond declined to comment. Ongoing litigation, we weren't involved, confidentiality of clients, they say. Other Blue Diamond almond products bearing the non-GMO seal have been approved by the Non-GMO Project, so is this simply a case of clerical error? The plaintiff certainly doesn't think her lawsuit is trivial. This is a class action suit, so there are other plaintiffs. The big question is, are there other products on the shelves of Whole Foods which claim to be non-GMO but aren't verified? Now, we never looked around that much to look at labels and stuff. We just went in to have a general look around. But I guarantee you there are things in there with aspartame in it. And aspartame is the genetically modified excrement, the excrement of genetically modified bacteria, so everything with that in it is genetically modified.
So they're even fooling the yuppies out there that can actually afford to shop at that overpriced place. Oh my gosh, I about had a heart attack in there. Our sound is really low, and thank you again, Orwell, giving us a clue out there. I'm going to put on a song by Tatiana Moroz and see if I can fix the sound. We'll come right back.
She was from a blue state clan, taught to praise the little man, told that unions save the working class. He was raised a red state son, to love the flag and own a gun, warned about the greed within the mass. They met beneath the moonlit sky, a college party drunk and high, and when they had degrees they said their vows. He couldn't say when, he couldn't say how, he couldn't say why. She was different in his eyes. They built careers and had a kid, tried to live like their parents did, but both their parties taxed them close to death. They learned to hate the public schools, watch TV making fools, while trial lawyers looted what was left. She couldn't say when, she couldn't say how, she couldn't say why. He was different in her eyes. Saw them years ago, a happy little cabin in the west. They homeschooled on their farm, making so much more from so much less. They can say when, they can say how, and they can say why. They're different in your eyes. They're different in your eyes. They're different in your eyes.
Well, obviously that was not Tatiana Moroz, that was Matt Fitzgibbons. You can find him on patriotmusic.com, and we'll be playing him a lot on Reality Bytes Radio. He did my last show for Grassroots Music. I'm trying to look around and doing 20 different things. I think I've got my mic up just a little bit, but I'm trying to get Neil's too, because we had some things prepared we want to do today, and we're going to push on these mics and see if we can still pull it off. This is Dan Hagen. I can't even talk now. Ninha Angel. Hagen in Nina Anyhow. And I can't say enough about that guy. He is an amazing artist, and also he he produces music for other people. He has a really amazing studio. He's written over 300 television intros with his music and things, and you find Dan Hagen hidden in a lot of places, but he actually uh, records and his own music and produces his own music, and I'm lucky enough to get a chance to share them. So we've had some mic problems. We're going to push through this, and I have another story, and the title is 10th Egyptian dies from H5N1 bird flu. Here we go again. Get all freaked out. Not. Okay. That wasn't part of the article. A 5-year-old Egyptian child died from bird flu on Wednesday, the 10th death from the virus in the country out of 22 identified cases this year, the health ministry said. Ministry spokesman, Dr. Hassam Adel uh, Graffer, you guys gotta bear with me on these names, said the boy came to a hospital in the southern province of Aswan on Monday with fever, sore throat, and respiratory distress. He was transferred to another hospital and later put on a ventilator in a third hospital where he died. His mother said he had contact with sick birds, the spokesman added. Out of the 12 other surviving infected patients, 8 have been discharged and 4 others are still sick in the hospital, Abdel Gafner said. According to the World Health Organization, from 2003, October 2nd, 2014, 668 laboratory confirmed human cases of H5N1 infection have been officially reported by 16 countries. Of these cases, 393 have died. The WHO has warned that whenever bird flu viruses are circulating in poultry, there is a risk of sporadic infections or small clusters of human cases, especially in people exposed to the infected birds or contaminated environments. Egypt's Egypt's H5N1 cases have largely been in poor rural areas in the south, where villagers, particularly women, tend to keep and slaughter poultry in the home. Hi, Neil, are you there? Did we get your mic working?
Yep, I'm here. Yeah, poor people again, isn't it? What you were saying before about Whole Foods and stuff. Poor people have got to eat poor food. Although I would imagine the chickens that they're eating are far healthier than the ones we're eating, to be honest. And, you know, again, this I've just looked up the population of Egypt, 82.06 million. And they're talking about 10 people died of bird flu. I mean, it's not a big deal, at all. And you've got to wonder if this 5-year-old had underlying health problems. That's not mentioned, or what vaccinations he'd had prior to this. And contact with sick birds. How are they supposed to know if they're sick or not? I mean, how do the birds actually get the flu? That's what I'd like to know.
You know that there was just the one line. He had contact with sick birds.
Yeah, but how did the birds get sick?
You see your child playing with a sick animal or something, and it would stop. It didn't elaborate how. They didn't go into how this kid got in contact with sick birds.
The chickens walking about with hankies and sneezing. I mean, how does this get passed on? It's as far as I'm aware, if you kill a bird and cook it, there is no problem. They're not eating raw chickens.
Yeah, as if it's properly cooked. It makes it sound like when you're going down to the shops and you pass the birds over there. If one sneezes, you've just about had it. But
You'll buy it.
how do you know if it's sick? I mean, there are definitely ways to tell if an animal is in distress. I lived on a farm, and usually it is pretty bad off before the thing starts lagging about and you notice and try to separate it from the other animals. But again, here we go. It's the new year, and the CDC is cracking down. Yeah, 300 and something cases worldwide. I wouldn't call that a huge threat.
I think you said 600 and something cases and 300 odd deaths.
Oh,
So
that's right.
it's probably a bigger percentage died of that than Ebola. So you know. But there you go. It's not a crisis yet. I'm sure they'll make it one.
Oh, yeah, I love how they put the words epidemic in there and slide it around in some of these articles. Um, Keywords that not only are used in the computer, but they're also used in your human psyche to pop up in your mind. Epidemic, deaths, death toll rises, stuff like that. Um, Seemed to pop out. I remember an old article you had read one time on one of your shows, and it was talking about a new case here, and you had to get all the way through several paragraphs in the article to realize there really wasn't a new case. Was it
No,
Ebola or something like
yeah.
that? I remembered, but the headlines, people walk by these headlines going to the train or going to work or in the supermarket lines and stuff. They see the headlines, and that's all they'll see. Before you know it, it's in the rumor mill the wrong way.
Yeah, I mean, this is the second person. I'm just looking up. This is BBC. If I can get it to come up. I mean, we're talking about 10 people. They've not just died all overnight. The second case was back in November, so it's over a couple of months now. 10 people have died. I mean, it's nothing at all. I mean, obviously the people that died, you've got to sympathise with them, but at the end of the day, it's nothing. I mean, it says here, an Egyptian woman has died after coming into contact with birds infected with the H5N1 avian influenza virus. Well, how did they get that? That's what I'd like to know. A 19-year-old woman died in hospital in the region of Asiut in the south of the country. Second death this year out of a total of 7 confirmed cases. So they're saying here in November there were only 7 confirmed cases in Egypt. Yeah, and yet it's major news. So there you go. Of course, there have been 667 cases of, I think it's the figure you quoted, of H5N1 worldwide since 2003. So it's over 11 years the figures are taken to make it sound worse. I mean, you divide that by 11, what you got? You got 50 deaths a year. Oh, sorry,
Yeah,
yeah, 75 or something.
jump shot.
Worldwide. Yeah, and as I say, 500,000 people die of the flu a year, but we don't hear about that because flu vax work, don't they?
Well, so many of them had the flu shot that kind of seems to help that out. In these
Absolutely.
vaccines, they give you the disease to prevent the disease, among other things they throw in there. I know that blood, pus, hair, animal excrement, and things like that have been found in vaccines too. And not only the crap that they meant to put in there is messing around with everybody's systems, but the stuff that they didn't mean to fall in there, ooh, who knows what that kind of thing is doing to you.
Well, it says at the bottom of this BBC propaganda piece, um, it mentions the 2 previous cases to this. One was a 3-year-old child who recovered, so it's not that serious. Obviously, if a 3-year-old child can beat it, and it says at the bottom it's about a 60% death rate in humans. Now, if you have to be in direct contact with chickens that are infected, then that ain't going to affect many people, is it? It's obviously not. It's not passing from human to human, is it? If that's the case, if there's only 10 cases since November,
Oh, yeah.
and you have to be in
Human
contact
to
with
human, I think
chickens.
contact they were saying. And then I'm slingshotting back to the Ebola ones as well. I think they're all related in one way or the other, and that's to get you worrying about your health and going to the drugstore and looking at those signs. Free flu shots. They're hoping you'll think, well, I'll protect myself the best I can until they bring that new drug out. But this is Monrovia AFP. The Ebola epidemic has cast a dark shadow over Christmas this year in Liberia, where small businesses are especially feeling the pinch. This is the worst Christmas we'd ever seen, said Ijik G. Chia, a trader. Because of the Ebola crisis, people don't want to come into the market there where the people gather, touching each other for fear of contracting the disease. Monrovia residents cannot remember a more morose Christmas. Ah, you guys, get the violence. Period since the West African county's back to back civil wars, which claimed more than 200 150,000 lives between 1989 and 2003. The Ebola crisis, which has seen more than 3,000 Liberians lose their lives, prompted President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf to cancel a traditional event in which she invites children to her office to give them presents. Well, maybe she could have just sent the presents to their house. I don't know. She didn't want them infecting her. Okay, well, some youths and children could be seen engaging in another Christmas tradition, putting on disguises and dancing in the streets to raise pocket money to buy presents with. But the usual verb was lacking. More prominent were anti-Ebola teams plying the streets of the capital and the suburbs, urging people to be particularly vigilant against the disease during the holidays. Samuel Stree, an engineer, told AFP, I told my kids that they are not going out. No celebration. We will stay at home and watch movies all day because of Ebola. Angie Gardia, a cosmetician, said business had fallen off. Customers are not really pouring in like before, so today I could not buy my children Christmas clothes. Nor has Sunny Fascia, 53, bought any Christmas presents this year. You celebrate only when you're healthy, he said. Ebola is still here, and we have to keep the biggest portion of the money to preventative measures and preventative medicine. Jingle bells, preventive medicine is here. Sorry, that wasn't in the article. Posters aimed at raising awareness about preventing the spread of Ebola were far more prominent than Christmas decorations in the capital of the impoverished nation. There's no pictures of food hanging up at this time. The death toll in Liberia stands at 3,384 with 7,862 cases, according to the latest World Health Organization figures, making it the country with the most fatalities in the current outbreak, followed by Syria, Leone, and Guinea. The killer disease in the year-old outbreak has claimed 7,588 lives overall so far, almost all in the three contagious countries. Again, a friend that lived over there said Liberia's had Ebola for over 40 years, so why is it a big thing now? In that small sign that Liberia is the last turning the corner, it was finally able on Saturday to hold the Senate elections that had been postponed twice because of the epidemic. But Street, the engineer, said that even if the containment efforts seem to be bearing fruit, Liberians should not be wild, going around and celebrating like our tradition. No! Explanation mark there. Things have to be different for this Christmas. That's the main thing.
Ebola is coming to town. Chicken flu is not far behind. Yeah, be afraid, be afraid. I've read those people sitting at home. I wonder if Contagion was shown as a Christmas movie this year. I just wonder. I bet it's been shown somewhere. And
you mentioned that one about the garden too. They should be watching that one.
The Constant Gardener.
Constant Gardener, yeah, that should be on the list. But I'm glad they could spend their money on preventative measures. Wonder what's being marketed there.
Well, they should take some preventative measures to stop the 250,000 people getting killed in the civil wars, really, and stop worrying about chicken flu that kills 10 people in Egypt. Who caused those deaths, I wonder? Who armed those people? Who paid for that? That's a bit more serious than a bit of bird flu, I would suggest. It's not contagious, but a bullet will kill you. That's for sure. You don't come into contact with it, it comes into contact with you. And that's it, it's over. So apparently you're still quite hard to hear, so maybe you should go to a tune and we'll try and do something about your levels again.
Paradise, put up a parking lot with a pink hotel, a boutique and a swinging hot spot. Don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you got till it's gone? You pay paradise, put up a parking lot. They took all the trees and they put them in a tree museum. And they charged all the people $1.50 just to see them. Don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you got till it's gone? You paint paradise and put up a parking lot. Hey, farmer, farmer, put away your DDT now. Give me spots on my apples, but leave me the birds and the bees now. Don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you got till it's gone? You paint paradise and put up a parking lot. Late last night I heard the screen door slam, and a big yellow taxi took away my old man. Don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you got till it's gone? Paint paradise and put up a parking lot. Don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you got till it's gone? You pay paradise and put up a parking lot. You pay paradise and put up a parking lot. You paved paradise and put up a parking lot.
And we're back. Oh my goodness, my mic just went way up. Sorry if I hurt your ears. And Neil is back. Let me hear your mic.
1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. Hello.
I think that'll do it.
Okay. So you want to, we've got this story here about rust-contaminated vaccines on a worldwide recall. That's a little video on experimental vaccines. Anybody can go there and have a look at it. But basically they've discovered rust in the, I think it's a meningitis vaccine. But Kenny Valenzuela, who I had on the show a number of months ago, and I should really get back on again, he goes through the inserts and stuff, and he's added some new sections to his sites, and he's got all the vaccine ingredients inserts that he can find, and he's put a request to anybody who can find any vaccines that aren't on there and get the inserts there too, and he's uploaded them to his site on PDF so they can't be taken down. So he's got them all, and all the vaccine manufacturers. Now this meningitis vaccine, on the ingredients list for that and the side effects and everything under the pregnancy section, it states quite plainly that it's never ever been tested for its effects on fertility. So guess what?
We are now the test subjects. We, speaking of being the people that have had it. So, wow. Is there any way we could have something on our site that links back to that site?
Yeah, we can do. I'll speak to Kenny about that, and maybe vice versa, he'll do something for us. But of course, these people have tested this, and that's why they're saying they've never tested it, because they know full well it's going to sterilise people, and they can't.
Yeah, they're not going to admit that. No way.
Well, that comes on the back of the story about Christina England last week about the Kenyan woman in the tetanus shot having the hormones in it that made sure that the eggs didn't actually attach to the lining of the womb. So that they would never ever get pregnant, and they would think that they were still going through a normal monthly cycle because they would just have the normal periods and stuff, and they would have no idea that they'd actually been sterilised with this hormone that stopped the eggs actually attaching to the line of the womb and getting them pregnant.
That's what I call Frankenscience.
Well, talking about Frankenscience, we can move on to GM again. Back to GM. GMOs, the natural foods industry is not your friend. Again, this is on John Rappaport's site. He does a lot of good stuff. GMOs, the natural food industry is not your friend. If Monsanto, its allies and dupes have their way, this is what is going to happen. A federal law will be passed cancelling the right of individual states and counties to ban or label GMOs. Companies and retailers will be permitted to voluntarily label their food products non-GMO if they use approved labs for testing. Well, who's going to approve the labs? I wonder. Monsanto. The obvious consequence: we will eternally coexist with Monsanto and the other biotech giants. More GMO foods, more toxic pesticides. The not so obvious consequence: paying several $1,000s per product for testing and certification. Some large companies in the natural food industry will label their products non-GMO, thus creating an elite sanctuary for those consumers who can afford to shop at high prices. And by the way, many of those non-GMO products won't be organic. Of course not. For centuries, the poorest peasants ate non-GMO, non-pesticide food. Now that will become a privilege for the relatively few. Are there certain players in the natural food industry who look forward to such an arrangement? See the Food Navigator, 19th December 2014. 5 GMO myths dispelled. This magazine is the #1 staple for people in the natural foods business. The article reports on a Natural Products Association webinar. The NPA is a huge trade group for the natural products industry. The article states that during the webinar, the NPA made room for a speaker, Greg Jaffe, from the Centre for Science in the Public Interest. A lawyer, Jaffe has logged stints with the EPA, FDA, and Department of Justice and the World Bank. All groups in one way or another have vigorously supported GMOs. Of course they are, because they're all in on it. And this is what you get when corporations just take over your government. It's quite simple. They will get exactly what they want, and labelling isn't going to make any difference whatsoever. As my chat with Brandon Turberville, he was discussing this as well, that they'll just make them cheap. They'll make the products cheap, so it's only poor people will be able to want to buy them, and we'll have people who have got a bit more money at the moment going to Whole Foods and places like that to buy the vastly overpriced stuff that they call organic when it isn't.
And lo and behold, they're being tricked too, because they're getting the same garbage, maybe just not as much of it.
Well, of course, the whole thing about organic, I mean, a friend of mine has always said there's food you should eat and there's food you shouldn't. There's no such thing as organic food, because there isn't. It's just a label they put on it to make it sound better. And in terms of what they deem organic now, they can now use, I think it's 20 different pesticides and still call it organic. So it's the whole thing is just a farce, and I could never understand why organic food was more expensive in the first place. If you're not using pesticides, you're not having to store these animals in big warehouses basically and feed them all this crap that they feed them. They're just out eating grass like they should be. They're not costing you anything. They should just be out in the field eating grass, and that's what you call organic, if you want to label it such, or natural. You call it natural food.
I agree. I think I've got a big squeal on my mic, Neil. So, yeah, I may have to pull that down.
But anyway, the organic industry in 2010, after some regulations came in, made $26.7 billion. In the past year or two, certified organic sales have jumped to about 52 billion worldwide, despite the fact that organic foods cost up to 3 times as much as those produced by conventional methods. More and more people are shelling out their hard-earned cash for what they believe are the best foods available. Imagine people say you can improve your nutrition while helping save the planet from the evils of conventional agriculture. A complete win-win, and you wouldn't buy organic. And who wouldn't buy organic when it sounds so good? Here's the thing, there are a lot of myths out there about organic foods, and a lot of propaganda supporting methods that are rarely understood. It's like your mother used to say, just because everyone is jumping up a bridge doesn't mean you should do it too. We're all told that organic food is the best you can buy, but as I've mentioned, it's still got pesticides all over it. So how can it be? The best you can have is the stuff you don't buy. It's the stuff you grow yourself. And that's the only way you're ever going to be able to guarantee anything is organic, if you can get properly organic heirloom seeds in the first place, that is, which are now under attack, of course. It's particularly in the European Union, who are going to bring in laws to make sure you only buy authorised seeds, authorised by them, of course, the same people that want to murder you. So you can trust them to look after your welfare and your nutrition, can't you? When they don't even train doctors in nutrition.
Absolutely not. That really makes these seed sharing networks between families and friends even more important, I believe.
Well, they're going to make that illegal as well. You're not even going to be allowed.
Oh, wonderful.
You're not even going to be allowed to hand seeds over to people that aren't authorised. So I mean, when they're coming in your garden and ripping out your food, I think it's time to get your guns out and stop it. Because there's no right to come after your food. And they claim it's in the interests of diversity, environmental diversity, but actually they're introducing things into the environment that are going to destroy any diversity because they're all going to be contaminated. So there we go.
Well, they have these laws you can't feed the homeless in some areas, and now that a lot more people are doing home gardenings and container gardenings, and they're finding out that they have more than what their family can put up and use. And they give it away, and a lot of them are giving it away to these homeless shelters. Again, they don't want these guys getting healthy foods and things, so they make this law. 127 cities in the U.S. outlawed feeding the homeless. This year, isn't that amazing?
And one of the only reasons they're homeless is because they actually moved into the city thinking they were going to get a better life and found out the streets weren't paved with gold, and they're actually not even paid with free food anymore from people who give a damn. But there was one guy, I think he was 90 or something, who's been arrested 5 or 6 times, and he just keeps going out and doing it. And that's what everybody should be doing, just ignoring these idiots. And maybe they just throw some rotten food and fruit and vegetables at some police officers. Say, okay, well, we're not allowed to give it away, you have it. But then they might shoot you for being in possession of an offensive tomato or something.
That reminds me of the article, another article that we were talking about recently that you read, where a police officer gave a woman who was, I think she got caught shoplifting food, eggs or something. But anyway, she ended up with him donating 2 truckloads of food, which you can't possibly store, you know.
She was in a small condo. She was in a small condo somewhere in New York. And I mean, the truck, probably one of the trucks that turned up was bigger than the house. So I mean, I don't know how she stored it. It's all a propaganda piece to make the police look nice. I guarantee these police officers didn't pay for that food.
Oh no, I think the majority, like 99%, was donated after they heard the policeman story. But again, this stuff is put in, and it's the holiday time of year, little tearjerker stories and things like that. There's one video, I don't know if it's real or not, but this guy, he decides he's going to give a homeless man $100 cash, and he's going to follow him to see what he does with it. And the guy goes into a liquor store and comes back out, and they're still following him, and he starts finding all these other homeless people, and he starts feeding them with the money, and talk again about a nice feel good piece. Again, I don't know if it's a real one or not. I'm going to share that later on, actually, and see what people think in the line about it. But he didn't buy alcohol. He just started buying food for these other families. And then the guy that set him up gave him another $100 before he left.
I missed that. I was sorry, I was reading something else there. Yeah, well, I mean, it's going to come to the stage where you're not going to be allowed to give money to people. You're not going to be allowed to give money to people who are, I don't know, buskers or something, who are playing a few tunes to try and make some money to feed themselves. They'll outlaw that as well. If you're not allowed to feed people, that's just the thin edge of the wedge. Thin edge of the wedge. Thin end of the wedge. And I can guarantee you they're going to stop you doing anything to help people who are just trying to get by, because they don't want you helping them, because they want rid of them, basically.
I'd like to see a list of those criminals, the people who actually are feeding the homeless and doing it anyway and getting in trouble for it. I'd like to see, now they have a criminal record. What are you accused of doing? Oh, feeding hungry people.
Yeah, and there's other people out there selling crack cocaine, but they seem to get off with it. And it always surprises me that in the UK, and it's the same here, that they talk about these gang. Some gang goes off on one and starts shooting each other, and they'll come out with all these statistics about all these gangs and how that all their members are well known to the police and everything. Well, why are they out in the street shooting guns at each other if they're well known to the police for running drugs and guns? Why aren't they in prison instead of the guy who's feeding the homeless? I mean, we had the case last week what Christina was discussing, where the guy tried to get his son treated for Lyme's disease, and the social services took him away, and then the guy was jailed for 6 months for supposedly kidnapping his own child, when all he did was take him to a different address because we were moving house. And then that guy ends up losing his job, and he's homeless, he's living in a van in the car park in Colorado in the freezing cold. And obviously you won't be allowed to feed him either.
I don't know how these laws get passed and, while people sleep, and why there isn't more outrage about it. Probably because the ones that still have a job probably has one or two jobs, and they're just trying to stay afloat themselves. It's getting wider. The gap is getting wider. The us's and the thems, the haves and the have-nots.
Well, the laws get made by these criminal politicians who get all their organic food in the UK apparently delivered to the home, courtesy of the taxpayer, and who pass laws in the UK that they won't have GM food in the House of Parliament canteens. And there's quite... Sorry, my mic was off. Apologies. These laws get passed by criminal politicians who are all in the back pocket of the likes of Monsanto and all these other people. And you can hear some sirens in the back. I don't know what's going on there. Possibly some child has been shot dead or something for holding a piece of candy, and it's mistaken for a sword or something. But getting back to this food thing, politicians in Britain, of course, although people in America will realise that politicians in the UK Parliament voted against having genetically modified food in their own restaurants, and yet they try and push it that it's good for the public. Well, if it's good enough for us, it's good enough for them, and I'd like to see them eat it for 10 years first before they start passing laws and telling us we've got to eat it. And it's not going to be labelled or banned or anything.
Yeah, you guys do it first.
Well, of course they won't. The same with the vaccines and all the rest of it. They don't take that crap, and neither do their children. And apparently they get get the top military medical hospitals to go to if they get seriously ill and get treated privately, all at the expense of the taxpayer. So these guys get the food paid for, they get all the transport paid for, they get the second homes paid for, everything paid for, and yet we still give them 70 grand a year plus expenses. What are they spending their money on? Oh yes, they're buying shares in companies they know that they're going to promote the interests of. That's what they're doing, and getting the backhanders from them. We're just dealing with total criminality, and we should be ignoring all of these laws. And there should be hundreds of thousands of people out there feeding poor people every day of the week until the police get the message that we ain't going to stop. And that's it.
The same thing you just said about the UK, you can say about the US, identical. It's a really sad time, and if people don't stand up and make a noise, it's just going to keep going on. Let's listen to a song by Cat Beach, and it's called Stand Up America.
Once upon a time, we could prosper in this land. Start a little family and make a simple plan. Now it seems so hard to get through each and every day. The great American dream has slowly slipped away. Step one, step two, step three. What do we really need? Step two, step three, step four. Do we really need another war? What are we dying for? There's a battle raging for every working man. Just to feed his family, he fights every way he can. So what do we tell those soldiers who sacrificed each day? When they come home with problems that just won't go away. Go away. Step Step one, step two, step three. What do we really need? Step two, step three, step four. Do we really need another war? What are we dying for? Stand up, America. Stand up, America. I ask you, what are we dying for? All around the world, people are pretty much the same. Slightly different faces, slightly different names. So why are we fighting when we all want the same damn thing? And why won't the ones who lead join us when we sing? When we sing. Oh, step one, step two, step three. What do we really need? Step two, step three, step four. Do we really need another war? What are we dying for? Step one, step two, step three. What do we really need? Step two, step three, step four. Do we really need another war?
We're back. Thank you guys for coming out and listening today. And I have another story, and this one is a little more lighthearted Obama story. Political advisors, chefs of staff, press secretaries, and national security advisors have all come and gone in the nearly 6 years Barack Obama has been president. Now, Obama's personal chef is waving goodbye. Okay, get out the handkerchiefs. Sam Cass has been a fixture in the executive mansion, serving up nutrition policy alongside meals for Obama and his wife Michelle and daughters Malia and Sasha. He was only their personal chef, but senior advisor for nutrition policy, giving him a seat at the table where administration officials hashed out everything from update food levels to new requirements for healthier school lunches. I've seen some of those. Jeez. Cass, a newlywed, is leaving the White House at the end of the month, but don't ask him what the Obamas like or don't like to eat. Top secret, he says. I love this family and believe in everything the President and the First Lady are doing, and this has been the greatest job of my life, and I assume will be the greatest job of my life, the 34-year-old Chicago native said in an interview. But I'm going to be with my wife. Once you've married, you kind of need to be together. Sorry. Cass's wife, MSNBC host Alex Wagner, is based in New York City. Cass's relationship with the Obamas started when they hired him to cook healthier meals for the family in Chicago before the 2008 elections. Michelle Obama was a vice president at the University of Chicago Medical Center and caring for young daughters, while Obama was a U.S. senator spending most of his time in Washington. But the relationship sprouted well beyond the professional. Besides Cass's tireless work for Mrs. Obama, for whom he wore a third hat as executive director of her anti-childhood obesity campaign, Cass sometimes traveled with Obama and joined his weekend or vacation golf outings. Obama, in turn, blocked out several hours on his busy schedule to attend Cass's late August wedding. Oh, that was sweet. Obama said Cass has grown from a close friend to the critical member of my team and has left an indelible mark on the White House. Mrs. Obama praised Cass' extraordinarily legacy of progress, which she said includes healthier food options and groceries and more nutritious school lunches and initiatives to improve how food is marketed to kids. Unlike any White House chef before him, Cass helped make decisions with far greater potential consequences than whether the president's veggie which Cass is often plucked from the First Lady's garden on the south lawn, should be steamed or sauteed. Mm, big, big decision making going on in the kitchen. The school lunch changes have led Mrs. Obama into a public spat with the School Nutrition Association, an industry-backed group that represents school cafeteria workers and food companies that sell to schools. The group has lobbied Congress to weaken the standards, arguing they are a burden on financially pinched districts and a big reason why kids are throwing their lunches into the garbage. A House Republican-led effort to allow some districts to ignore this new lunch standards altogether failed to advance in Congress, but requirements for more whole grains in school foods will be eased instead. The fight over the broader standards is expected to heat up again next year when Republicans, who are sympathetic to the association's arguments, will control both houses of Congress. Nutrition advocates say anyone who hopes these issues will disappear with Cass will be disappointed. The administration is very committed to nutrition and obesity prevention. The commitment runs very deep. And, this just goes on and on and on. And I've seen some of these nutritious lunches, and I can't believe these kids are having to eat this crap. I just don't know. What do you think about this story here? Uh, Taking up space on the newsreel.
Well, we've seen the pictures of these so-called nutritional lunches, and they look like something a dog has thrown up and regurgitated for its puppies. And no wonder the kids are throwing them in the bin, or the children are throwing them in the bin. But, I don't think this chef leaving is going to cause Michael or Michelle Obama any trouble whatsoever, because she's been serving up meat and 2 veg to Barack for many, many years in the bedroom. So I don't think it'll be too much of a problem.
It's funny. Well, at least, when she's off, he's doing something else. It's nice to know that the chef can't travel.
Yeah, indeed. And the meat and 2 veg goes with her. Him.
Him, exactly.
Yeah, it's interesting. They mention her White House lawn vegetable garden. I remember her starting this off, and she's supposed to have got the shovel in her hand, digging this plot of vegetables. What a joke. What a joke. Anybody believes that Michelle Obama's a gardener who's planting potatoes, get real.
It's just another photo op, just another way to sell papers.
Well, if she's got a chef, why has she not got a gardener? That'd be my question. I mean, if she needs a chef, she needs a gardener, surely.
I'm sure somewhere there was the gardener going, oh, please, just let her get out of my garden and go on after these pictures, or she ruins everything.
Yep, she wears the dungarees in that house. Literally, the dungarees.
You had another story coming up too, didn't you?
Oh, so I turned my mic off again there. Yes, I've got a story about Google and climate change coming up, but this one is from PETA. There's those people who claim that they protect animals, the People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals. I've got a little story about them in a minute, about how unethical they actually are. But they're quite proud of this story because an orangutan has been declared a person by an Argentine court. And then it goes on. I mean, this is the idiocy of these people. She may look like an ordinary orangutan. Well, that's because it's not even a she. It's a female orangutan. We don't call animals she's. But Sandra is a pioneer. See, they've got to give them human names to make them appear more human. It's a frickin' orangutan, and it doesn't look anything like human to me. It's a big orange hairy monkey. Why don't they just call it orange hairy monkey? I mean, that's what it is, instead of Sandra. The 28-year-old great ape, who has been held captive at the Buenos Aires Zoo for 2 decades, is legally a person, according to Argentine court. The ruling came after the animal rights group Association of Officials and Lawyers for Animal Rights filed a habeas corpus petition on Sandra's behalf, arguing that her plight constituted unjustified confinement of an animal with proven cognitive ability. The lawyers pointed out that just like humans, other great apes can reason and form relationships and are capable of feeling frustrated and depressed by captivity, making Sandra's imprisonment at the zoo an illegal infringement on her liberty. Well, I agree. I mean, we shouldn't have zoos either at all. But then it goes on. The judges unanimously agreed that Sandra is a non-human person who has some basic human rights, and ruled that she should be transferred to a sanctuary. Well, she's still going to be held captive, I guess. So,
Well, I think you and I should be transferred to a sanctuary too. I wonder if she gets the Social Security number and when she picks up her food stamps. We'll be doing housing for her too.
well, that's more than I'm getting.
I know, right? I'm moving in with her.
I bet she doesn't have to go to Homeland Security and request an interview. But the word orangutan literally means person of the forest in Malay. In the Borneo jungles where they belong, orangutans spend most of their lives walking, swinging and climbing through dense rainforests. You don't say. It's a monkey. I mean, what do you think they're going to be doing? Riding bicycles? You know? These highly intelligent grey apes are known to create tools using leaves as umbrellas and as cups to drink water. That makes them highly intelligent, apparently. They also build elaborate nests that demonstrate sophisticated tool use and construction skills, according to the University of Manchester researcher Roland Enos. They show a lot of engineering know-how in how they build their nests. Well, so do birds, and so do beavers. I mean, every animal. What about a spider? You know, a spider shows amazing ingenuity building a web.
When's he going to get his rights?
Well, we're coming to that. Because basically, orangutans are, I'll carry on with this. Orangutans are semi-solitary, so they're only half solitary. What does that mean? And value their privacy. Well, so do we. Yeah, we're semi-solitary as well. There's two of us in this room. We're half solitary, but we're a couple, and they value their privacy. Yep, we do. But in zoos, they are constantly surrounded by crowds. Well, when we go to the supermarket, we're not surrounded by crowds. They are denied the opportunity to learn critical life skills or engage in activities that are meaningful to them. Who's denying them it? Like, hey, orangutan, you're not writing that biography. That's it. Sandra's case is not the first in which a habeas corpus argument has been used. PETA made a similar argument when we sued SeaWorld on behalf of the wild captured orca that held captive there, who we argued are treated like slaves. While the court dismissed our case, the court of public opinion seems to be on our side, with SeaWorld facing plummeting ticket sales profits and stock prices. Well, that's because their prices are too high. Sandra's landmark victory opens the way not only for other great apes, but also for other sentient beings which are unfairly and arbitrarily deprived of their liberty in zoos, circuses, water parks and scientific laboratories, said AFADA lawyer Paul Biompadre. Well, I would suggest that we're all in the biggest open prison on the planet, called government, run by government. We're just parts of the machine, paying our taxes. And if we were really free, we wouldn't be paying any taxes because nobody would have a claim to tax us. But what can you do? This is PETA again. What can you do? Until all captive animals get the legal protection they deserve, please never patronise any zoos or marine parks. Well, I don't anyway, but I don't need PETA to tell me that. But this is going to go down the road of us not being allowed to eat animals. That's where this is going. And we've all to be vegans, according to PETA. But what does PETA do? Well, there's a site called PETA Kills Animals, and there's a big bank of evidence there. But PETA has killed more than 33,000 animals since 1998. And there's some pictures of dogs that PETA has slaughtered and discarded in a North Carolina dumpster. So that's PETA for you. They really care about animals. And then you've got these other idiots, I'd rather go naked than wear fur. Well, good for them. Some people need to wear fur, to keep warm, like the Inuits. But, excuse me, coughing again. I'm just trying to get this evidence page to come up. Oh, here it comes. The Virginia Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services requires all animal shelters to report the number of cats and dogs they take in each year. The records indicate how many cats and dogs were reclaimed by their owners, adopted out, transferred to other Virginia releasing agencies, i.e. animal shelters and animal control, transferred to out-of-state releasing agencies, blah, 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 blah. We added the dogs and cats euthanized and divided by the total number of dogs and cats taken in, excluding those held only for sterilisation surgery. Well, what about their rights then? Did the animal ask to be sterilised? Did the dog ask to have his testicles removed? Did that cat ask to be have her ovaries removed? To determine the percentage of dogs and cats PETA killed in a given year, in 2009, Virginia modified its policy and eliminated animals held for sterilisation from the records. But dogs and cats killed by PETA, I mean, it's a big list. It's got 2013. They killed, in 2013, they killed 1,792, 2012, 1,647, 2011, 1,911, 2010, 2,200, and on it goes. It's always in the thousands of animals they've just killed. So that's how caring they are, and that's just cats and dogs. That doesn't include other animals they've killed, of which there are many, many thousands. And I believe there are tens of thousands of birds killed every year, deliberately, by environmental agencies and stuff, because they say they're eating crops, apparently. They're not eating GM crops, that's for sure, because they know better. There's been studies done on that as well. They only eat organic crops, or natural crops. But if we started planting natural crops everywhere, then the birds wouldn't be a problem, because it'd be enough for everybody.
I don't know though, and don't listen to this and think that either one of us are for harming animals or would like to see animals suffer or anything like that. It's not that way at all. Um, but there are uses for everything. Like you were saying, that the birds in an area can destroy a crop, and if some of these deer down here in the south are not hunted and thinned off, they can really just within a couple of years just take over everything. All vegetation's gone, and then they are starving to death in the hundreds of thousands. So yeah, I eat meat, and um, I don't want to see any kind of animals suffer or do anything like that. Yes, I've shot a deer before, filled a freezer up. My family ate on that for quite a long time, in a really hard time. And but there's a limit to everything. Okay, there's a difference in my mind, I guess, because of the way I grew up on a farm with farm animals and stuff, and maybe different than someone that's lived in apartments or in the city all their life. I know that animals have their place. I also have been out in the wild, and I see what animals in the wild do to each other. So I wonder if there's going to be some laws against that big dog tearing up that rabbit to pieces, because death in the wild can be, yeah, it's savage, terrible, terroristic thing. And so maybe if one, I don't know, just something to think about, I think.
Yeah, well, I mean, if animals want human rights, then they have to live by the same laws we do. And if a lion goes and eats an antelope, well, that's murder. They should be jailed, or incarcerated in a zoo. So we're back to square one again. But the lion doesn't know any better. He's still in the zoo, still getting fed and climbing his cage or whatever he's got. And the penguins that eat the fish, I mean, what are you going to do with all them? There's quite a lot of them. The prisons are going to be full. We're going to have, the zoos are going to be just overcrowded, and we'll start getting diseases and all that stuff spreading, and the guards will start getting attacked because the food's not very good and stuff like that. They'll have to searchlights there, spot that penguin, you know. But it's crazy. But I mean, you mentioned hunting and stuff. Well, the reason there's so many animals out there destroying crops is because of organisations like PETA and people like that who've tried to stop people hunting and keep the numbers down. That's why there's polar bears all over Alaska eating people, or trying to eat people, because there's so many of them. And it's nothing to do with ice caps melting or anything like that. It's just that they're not allowed to shoot them anymore. But they're actually having to do it now. And also organisations like the World Wildlife Fund, whose major supporter is Prince Philip, who wants to kill us all. Well, what better way to do it than starve us to death by not allowing. So it all goes back to the same thing. It's all about if we give our animals rights, we won't be allowed to eat them. And where do you stop? They're already trying to get us to eat insects, but again, they said this orangutan's got human traits. Well, so's a spider. It's got legs. It's got a brain. Well, so have we.
Dogs have human traits. Have you ever seen a dog with a box on its head. You pull it off. That's embarrassed. Everyone recognizes that dog's face. He's feeling embarrassment. They can feel empathy for another animal and rescue that. Does that mean? And I know. Wait a minute. Probably shouldn't have picked dogs because there's a lot of people that their dog is one of the family members, and they would like them to have a social security cover and a health care practice too. But love you guys too. But it there has to be a fine line. Come on.
Well,
Maybe if we give the zoo animals, instead of letting them die of old age, a really wildlife death, would that be more honorable than dying of old age in the zoo? I don't know.
well, if animals are going to become persons, then we're not going to be allowed to feed them. I mean, does that mean you can't have a pet that your pet now has to fend for itself because you're not allowed to feed your animal in the house? It has to go out and eat rabbits or something, which again, it could be charged with a criminal offence for. If he eats somebody else's rabbit, well, that's he's depriving them of rabbit.
What a vicious circle this has become.
Vicious is the word, yes, because I guarantee you, if you don't feed your dog in the house, he is going to go out and eat something because they're only domestic to a certain point, and then they'll revert to their natural way of living for survival, the same as we do. And as long as they keep a hold of the guns here and can go hunting, then people should keep doing it, and don't give a damn about all these quotas and stuff that they give you. The same thing happens in Bulgaria, actually. They've got, hunting's quite well recognised there because they need to, because they've got bears and stuff that, big bears, brown ones, black ones, and there's a quota on how many can be killed every year, which is fine. The population of the bears and stuff like that, and there's only so many hunters allowed for a certain region, and somebody literally has to die or give up their permit before somebody else can get on the list. They don't increase it at all. They maintain it for the. Then people go out and assess how many bears and stuff there are, and if they have to bring down the quota because it's a little less one year than the year, it's a bad winter or something, and they don't breed as much. That's what they do. Again, like there's ancient cultures who've been doing this for a long, long time, and the same goes for the trees there. Everybody in Bulgaria, virtually everybody, burns wood, but you can never ever see where the trees have been cut down, unless it's the ones at the side of the road that the gypsies have had them away. But you can never see where the forests have been cut down in Bulgaria, anywhere.
That sounds amazing.
That's because they're managed properly, the same as the animals could be, the same as we are, I guess. We're getting managed very properly, aren't we? But the more of us that say we're not here to be managed, we're not your property, then the better, and we might actually get somewhere. But it was very interesting being at your brother's yesterday and seeing his collection of firearms, which I hope he maintains and keeps a hold of, and God forbid anyone who tries to break into his house.
Oh, my brothers, they also have concealed weapon permits too, so there's usually one on them somehow, some way. Yeah, you're gonna have to get some guns like that when we hit the woods because there are bear and things. Shotgun and a rifle is a good thing to have when you're gonna go pretty deep in the woods, especially down south.
Well, I mean, even here where we are, we hear coyotes at night. Not even that late. I mean, I'm sure people have got young chaps and young children run about the streets here, 2, 3 year olds. I'm sure a coyote wouldn't have much problem carrying one of them off either. So I mean, what are you supposed to do? It's animal rights. You've got to let the coyote eat your child.
Not this cracker. Um, but there's, right behind us, I saw one of the largest rattlesnakes I'd ever seen. We live in pretty much, uh, it's not a rural area. It's pretty much uptown down here, but we're surrounded by woods, and there was an orange grove behind us, and these beach islands and peninsulas out here have a lot of snakes, especially rattlesnakes, and they are coming to get you because they just spread out. They just keep breeding. They keep spreading out, and they have an event called the rattlesnake roundup. It's not to kill them. It's not to wipe them out. It's to, it's to keep them from having to eat each other because they just multiply so fast in this warm weather.
Yeah, I've only seen one snake here. You told me it wasn't poisonous, but I still wouldn't want to get anywhere near it. And if I see a rattlesnake, if I can get away from it, I'll get away from it. And if I can't, then I'm killing it. It ain't get to kill me, that's for sure. I don't care if it's got rights. I'll go to jail before I let a rattlesnake kill me.
Well, and just in my experience, the moccasins, that's the one you want to stay away from. They are so mad all the time. You can be 60 feet away, and a moccasin will come over there and mess with you. But, a rattlesnake, if you pretty much keep your distance, he's going to keep his distance. And if there's a rattlesnake around, you know that sound. If you've never heard it before, I've seen people recognize it in their eyes when we've walked pretty close to them. They give you a warning. Just stay away from that sound. He won't come messing with you unless he thinks you're headed toward him.
Well, maybe we should all get rattles for government officials, and anytime they come near us, just shake them, say stay away, or or as you mentioned, the sound of a shotgun, just stay away.
Everybody knows that sound, especially in the dark. Turn around.
I'm not advocating shooting politicians, but if they do want to come in my house, then they might have a problem, unless they're invited. Very little likelihood at all.
Well, they used to put rock salt in shotgun shells. People would come in and try to steal horses or crops even, and it wouldn't kill you, but oh, just think of rock salt hitting you like a shotgun. What that is be torture. Immediate justice, I think they called that.
So does it actually break the skin, that stuff?
Oh yeah, oh my gosh, rock salt in your skin just like it would a shotgun shell. They're little pellets like BBs, and they just shoot a shotgun shoots a spray instead of one just shot. And you can imagine being hit with a spray of rock salt. If you ever had a little paper cut or something and had salt or lemon juice get into it, can you just imagine?
Yes, I have, and I know that feeling well. What we got? We got 20 minutes. Do you want to put another tune on, and we've got another story or two?
That sounds good. And this song is called Bad News, and it's by Tatiana Moroz.
Get you out of my mind. Always thinking of you, though I ain't the cheating kind. I sleep in my lover's arms and bothered by thoughts of you, babe. You baby. And you know I've been down this road before, and you know I can't win. You know we're living in sin, 'cause you'll come back, your memories come
And we're back oh, we're having some major sound problems and issues, and thank you so much for sticking with us throughout it anyway. Neil, you back?
When I switch my mic on, I'm back perfectly well. Otherwise, no.
Do we have any more stories to share? Let me see.
I've got one on Google and going after what they call climate change liars. Now, they've got away from the deniers, or they're just calling them liars. Because apparently they base their stuff on fact. And climate change is a fact. Well, of course it is. But man-made global warming isn't. So they go on, this is from townhall.com, written by a guy called Paul Dreisen, who I tried to get on the show before. I actually emailed him. I had his book, which is in that proverbial loft in the south of England. But this is in a recent interview with the National Public Radio host Diane Rain. Google chairman Eric Schmidt said his company has a very strong view that we should make decisions in politics based on facts. That'll be a first. And the facts of climate change are not in question anymore. No, they've been totally disproven, I would suggest. Everyone understands climate change is occurring, so you're very careful with words, isn't it? Because we all know that climate changes all the time, from one day to the next even. And the people who oppose it are really hurting our children and our grandchildren and making the world a much worse place. We should not be aligned with such people. They're just literally lying. So does that mean Google are going to start censoring sites that disagree with them? Because this is going to set a precedent. This is just one topic that they're talking about here. What if Google suddenly says we are totally behind GMO foods, which I'm sure they are, and they go after sites that are opposing that?
Well, there you go. It's the unpopular speech that you have to protect. Climate change, I wonder, which is just ridiculous. The Earth's atmosphere and the Earth has changed naturally since time. Anyway, since anybody has ever kept record of it. And I believe that their so-called climate change is really just HARP and weather modification is what really is destroying different things in different areas. It has nothing to do with what they say it has, global warming and all that crap.
Well, when the fallacy of the Icelandic volcano was on, and they said there was so much dust up there that the planes couldn't fly, we never saw a chemtrail for days, and we saw actually blue skies for the first time in about 15 years, and the sun came out, and lo and behold, there were natural clouds there. We didn't see any of these artificial things, these lines in the sky. And we were driving back last night from your brother's Christmas meal, and the sky was red in the distance, and there was just lines everywhere. A nice chemtrailed sunset. But this guy goes on, Mr. Dreisen. While he didn't vilify us by name, Mr. Schmidt was certainly targeting us, the climate scientists who collect and summarise thousands of articles for the NIPCC's Climate Change Reconsidered reports, the hundreds who participate in Heartland Institute climate conferences, and the, wait for it, this is just in the US, 31,487 US scientists who have signed the Oregon petition, attesting that there is no convincing scientific evidence that humans are causing catastrophic warming or climate disruption. And yet we'll hear the IPCC mouthing off the lies, of course, that there are 2,500 climate scientists who agree with all this garbage, when in fact there's only about 3 of them are climate scientists. The rest are mainly bureaucrats. None of them are actually scientists at all, or students or something like that. He goes on, all of us are firm sceptics of claims that humans are causing catastrophic global warming and climate change. We are not climate change deniers. We know Earth's climate and weather are constantly in flux, undergoing recurrent fluctuations that range from flood and drought cycles to periods of low or intense hurricane and tornado activity, to the medieval warm periods and Little Ice Age, and even to Pleistocene glaciers that repeatedly buried continents under a mile of ice. What we deny is the notion that humans can prevent these fluctuations by ending fossil fuel use and emissions of plant fertilizing carbon dioxide, which plays only an insignificant role in climate change. Well, I would suggest if any at all. The real deniers are people who think our climate was and should remain static and unchanging, such as 1900 to 1970. Supposedly, during which time the Earth actually warmed and then cooled, endured the Dust Bowl, and experienced periods of devastating hurricanes and tornadoes. It goes on, I'm just going to change to page 2, and here it comes, maybe. The real deniers refuse to recognise that natural forces dictate weather and climate events. They deny that computer models' predictions are completely at odds with real-world events, that there has been no warming since 1995, and that several recent winters have been among the coldest in centuries in the United Kingdom and continental Europe. Well, I can testify to that. Despite steadily rising CO2 levels, they refuse to acknowledge that as of December 25th, it's been 3,347 days since a Category 3 to 5 hurricane hit the US mainland. This is by far the longest such stretch since record-keeping began in 1900, if not since the American Civil War. Worst of all, they deny that their solutions hurt our children and grandchildren by driving up energy prices, threatening electricity reliability, thwarting job creation and limiting economic growth in poor nations to what can be sustained via expensive wind, solar, biofuel and geothermal energy. Google's corporate motto is "Don't be evil." There's a joke.
Don't be evil, that's our job. Should be the motto. It's just, I hate to sound like a broken record. Agenda 21, this global warming turned climate change turned green is a marketing ploy for this green and the miniature homes and all this Agenda 21 and Common Core. That's just one little branch of how it feeds back into that I hate to say conspiracy, but that whole big project that they have taken on, that people are buying. Oh, I'm doing well. I'm saving the earth. I bought green paper towels or green laundry soap. Just and they buy into this stuff. So it is part of the marketing, I believe, even though it's just a big fictitious ad, and that's pretty much what most of us have been fed through the television all of our life, these big fictitious ads. And I don't know, what do you think about that?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the term, Google actually having a motto, "Don't be evil," is ridiculous. They're the ones who have driven around all the streets on the planet that they could get around with cameras to make sure that we can all be watched. They've got photographs of our houses without our permission. I've actually seen police vehicles driving up and down dead-end streets, pointing cameras at people's windows, straight into the houses, live. And here we have Google, who are arguably the biggest spying agency on the planet, funded by the CIA, I believe. And Paul Dreisen's absolutely correct, and I agree with him wholeheartedly. It says, from our perspective, perpetuating poverty, misery, disease, and premature death in poor African and Asian countries in the name of preventing climate change is evil. Of course it is. It's murder.
Oh, absolutely, I agree.
Oh, I thought you were going to say more then. Yeah, it is murder, and it's and the hypocrisy of it as well. You have all these so-called eco bags and stuff like this, which are they've got labels on them made in China, like everything else we seem to buy nowadays, made in sweatshops, and yet they're called green. These Chinese peasants are living. I don't know if anybody's seen some of the documentaries on the Chinese factory workers, but the living conditions that they're in are absolutely horrendous. You're talking about 4 or 5 people to a room the size of the one that Paula and I are sitting in just now, which is the smallest room in our house, uh, apart from the bathroom. And they live 4 and 5 girls in it, invariably girls, in this one room, and the kitchen, everything's in it. And they've got to sleep in there. They take it. They work different shifts, and they're all sleeping in each other's beds and all that stuff. There's no room for the 5 of them to even be in there at the same time.
Oh, you remember the bamboo stuff they were doing? Bamboo floors, because this was eco-friendly and this was a green thing to do. There was fabric and stuff made by that. But come to find out, the chemical that makes it pliable so they can do all this stuff in it was twice as dangerous as anything that they were using already on the market. So, again, the green and the words like that again are just marketing tools, and you never know. You just have to do the research.
Yeah, and I mean Google, the hypocrisy of Google, not just the evil aspect of it, but they claimed to increase their energy efficiency, and a few of these efforts proved very successful. Google deployed one of the most energy efficient data centers in the world, purchased large amounts of renewable energy, and offset what remained of its carbon footprint. That proverbial carbon footprint, eh? Never seen one of them. It's wonderful that the company improved the energy efficiency of its power-hungry data centers, but the project spent untold millions of dollars and countless man-hours. To what actual benefits? To address precisely what climate and energy problems? And how exactly did Google offset its carbon footprint? By buying carbon credits from outfits like New Forests Company, which drove impoverished Ugandan villagers out of their homes, set fire to them, and burned a young boy to death. There's getting rid of carbon footprints for you. That's how you do it. You just kill people.
I That's so sick, but because I don't believe in that carbon crap either. I
Well,
don't.
there's no such thing. There's no such. I mean, the word carbon footprint on its own. We've got 2 feet, so surely it should have been called carbon footprints, if anything. But they didn't want to say that because then it gives the game away. That it's all about killing off people.
Yeah, because they want you to feel crowded and stuff like that. You and I covered many miles without seeing a person or a house or anything in Europe, and when we travel here, you're going to see the same thing. Like, where's the crowding? Can you imagine if we had broke down in some of those areas, how long it would have taken us to just, get to the nearest place to make a call? Not having cell phones like we do, but
Well, I mean, I'd driven all over Bulgaria and large parts of Eastern Europe, and you can drive around Bulgaria for go through the mountains and stuff like that, and drive for maybe an hour before you even see another car. There are no one-off houses there. Everybody lives in little villages outside the main cities, and if anybody's ever driven across Europe, you'll see how much food there is actually growing there. And to say that we don't have enough room for people is just ridiculous. And in the UK in particular, there are so many fields growing absolutely nothing. And then they'll tell us a
beautiful
food shortage.
farms and then beautiful vacant fields that could have been loaded.
Well, exactly. They want it both ways. They want to tell us we're short of food, and yet at the same time, they won't grow any.
Well, I think that's about our time, and I really love having you on, Neil, with me. So we're going to have to continue to do this, especially if we get this sound issue fixed. Thank you guys that came in listening. Stay tuned. Neil is going to be coming right up next with his punk rock Christmas show. Don't go away.